Hello, sisters and brothers. Our devotional for today, for July 7, is a reflection on My Utmost for His Highest, a series of devotionals written and compiled by Oswald Chambers. You can always find the link for the daily devotional at utmost.org. For today's devotional, we'll turn to Matthew chapter 7 and a very familiar passage and visual. I'll read verses 13 and 14. Enter through the narrow gate. For wide is the gate, and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate, and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. Chambers titles the devotional for today, All Efforts of Worth and Excellence are Difficult. If we are going to live as disciples of Jesus, we have to remember that all efforts of worth and excellence are difficult. The Christian life is gloriously difficult, but its difficulty does not make us faint and cave in. It stirs us up to overcome. Do we appreciate the miraculous salvation of Jesus Christ enough to be our utmost for His highest, our best for His glory? God saves people by His sovereign grace through the atonement of Jesus, and it is God who works in you both to will and to do for His good pleasure. Philippians 2, verse 13. But we have to work out that salvation in our everyday practical living. Philippians 2, verse 12. If we will only start on the basis of His redemption to do what He commands, then we will find that we can do it. If we fail, it is because we have not yet put into practice what God has placed within us. But a crisis will reveal whether or not we have been putting it into practice. If we will obey the Spirit of God and practice in our physical life what God has placed within us by His Spirit, then when a crisis does come, we will find out that our own nature, as well as the grace of God, will stand by us. Thank God that He does give us difficult things to do. His salvation is a joyous thing, but it is also something that requires bravery, courage, and holiness. It tests us for all we are worth. Jesus is bringing many sons to glory, Hebrews 2, verse 10, and God will not shield us from the requirements of sonship. God's grace produces men and women with a strong family likeness to Jesus Christ, not pampered, spoiled weaklings. It takes a tremendous amount of discipline to live the worthy and excellent life of a disciple of Jesus in the realities of life, and it is always necessary for us to make an effort to live a life of worth and excellence. So if you've grown up in the church or been in the church for a while, you've heard this imagery, the narrow gate and the wide gate. And here Chambers takes that and forces us to look at what we do with things that are difficult. Now, let's say this was a path up a mountain. If it was a wide path up a mountain with no obstacles, then it would be very easy. If you were properly equipped, whether you're taking a bike or a vehicle or just simply walking. What if it's a narrow path? What if it's along the edges? What if there are potential obstacles? What is your focus like when that's the case? Well, anytime that it's narrowed, when there's a smaller target to hit, our focus should increase. And what Chambers is pointing out here is, as Jesus said with this very image, that there are many who will take the easy path, the wide path. There are very few who will take the narrow path and the more difficult path. So now we're talking about working out our salvation, right? Not working for our salvation. We're talking about working it out. How do we respond to the fact that we have been atoned and redeemed and made new, given this new life? Well, we respond by choosing the more narrow and more difficult way. But that's going to require more focus. That's going to require bravery and courage and holiness, just as Chambers pointed out. So what does that look like for you today? Are you choosing something that's easy simply because it's easy? In your faith journey, are you choosing a way that feels okay, feels comfortable? Or are you choosing something that's difficult in order to make sure that you stay on the proper path? The narrow path is not easy. It is difficult, but it's not impossible. And it is the path that demonstrates that we are living out a life called and redeemed by Jesus Christ. Thank you, as always, for listening. Be safe and stay well.